Hi everyone. Welcome to today's video. We are going to learn about the story, One-Winged Angels. This will be a simple and easy to understand story for practicing your English listening. Let's get started. Every blade of grass is a study, and to produce two whether was one is both a profit and a pleasure. Roll number 747 next in, please. I called out and waited, my head turned towards the door. I amused myself with wild imaginings of a student entering the departmental office with the force and vitality of a Boeing. The reality was painfully different. A disappointingly stringy bean of a girl made her way in hesitantly and stood before me. The droopy shoulders and apologetic air spoke of defeat. Not quite a jet, are you? Thought to myself. Aloud I said, please sit down. I'm your new value education teacher and I would like to interact with you. I also need to make entries in your personal record book. If you have any questions to ask or something to share, it might take a bit longer. Took as long as the next 2 years. The name, she said, was Philippa, shortened to Pippa by parents she hardly met because they resided abroad. Her height, I wasn't surprised to learn, was 4 feet and 11 inches and her weight 40 pounds. Any identification marks? I asked her, thinking apart from the seal of misery you so obviously wear. Such as what? She looked at me timidly. I explained myself. Any scars, moles, birthmarks? I'm scarred, ma'am. All over. I took a deep breath and put my pen down. The student before me had come to life for the first time in the past 5 minutes. How do you mean scarred all over? Yes. All over my abdomen, the scars of all my various surgeries. Please, ma'am, none of my classmates or other teachers knows. I've never told them about the real me under my clothing and I don't want to either. In fact, I wonder that I'm telling you at all. But somehow I feel that I must. A piece of the jigsaw puzzle of providential design fell into place. So that was what Dr. Daster had meant all those years ago. You see, ma'am, Philippa explained, I was born with a rare condition called Hirschsprung's disease. My large intestine doesn't function as it should. I have never been able to eat normally and my height and weight are both below average. I've had to have repeated surgery. There was a time when the surgeon had to, this is going to be hard for me to explain and for you to understand. You see, normal people like you never do. Try me, Pippa, I replied. I might be able to understand better than you could ever imagine. We paused for one tremulous moment. I was caught in a web of memory. I thought of the previous morning when the teachers had been allotted their value education students. Mrs. Sumti and I had to share between us a batch with an odd number of students. So, who gets the odd one out? I remembered asking Sumti. Ironic question, I decided now in retrospect. Do you mind taking her? Sumti asked me. Oh well, okay. I was not particularly enthusiastic. One more value education student meant one more little load of responsibility. My life was complicated enough as it was. Then that memory blurred seamlessly into a much older one that was indelibly inked on the palimpsest of my mind. I was a young woman again, sitting at Dr. Daster's desk, listening to him giving me one last piece of advice. For the previous 2 years, my life had been bounded by the 4 sterile walls of a hospital ward. For 2 months of the 2 years my world had shrunk to the size of an average surgical cot in an ICU which smelt of cold, canned oxygen and sweetly sickening ether. A ventilator had breathed for me as I lay limp as a rag doll, while my large intestine bubbled and boiled with ulcerative colitis. It was Dr. Daster who had helped me take the painful but necessary decision to undergo surgery for the complete removal of my large bowel. I was now an ostomate with my small intestine drawn through the surface of my abdominal wall in what surgeons call a stoma. I wore a surgical pouch for the collection of body waste and privately thought of myself as an inside-out, back-to-front person with no particular vision of what to do with a life that had been miraculously saved. Beyond the determination to give every unforgiving minute 60 seconds worth of distance run. Dr. Daster said, "Now that you are about to step into the bright lights of real life, let me remind you that once the euphoria of being well again dies down, the lights will dim. It's in those moments that I want you to be bravest. Yours is a rare condition in India anyway. On the one hand, you may never meet someone like yourself, and few people will understand or accept it. On the other, someone else's life or future may depend upon how well you spend your time. On the example you set, on the love that you can find in your heart to give." I floated back to the present moment on a cloud silver-lined with hope to catch Pippa's words. "Ma'am, I once had an opening in my abdominal wall through which bodily waste collected in a bag. I know it's difficult for you to visualize. I was called an ostomate then. I'm not one now, but with my condition, I never know when I might be an ostomate again. Does that sound sick and scarred to you?" "No, Pippa. We're the people who carry red badges of courage." "We?" Pippa was incredulous. "Yes, Pippa. Let me tell you something that I've never shared with a student before. By some fantastic quirk of probability, I, your new value education teacher, am an ostomate too. Not temporarily. I'm in the club for life. For life and for living it. God gave us to each other. One-winged angels. Let's see how far we can fly together. I'll tell you how far Pippa and I flew over the next 2 years. We prayed and ate together at least once a week. Suited us fine. We were among the few on the campus with special diets. And we shared our food and recipes. Pippa was excellent at quantitative subjects, but poor at theory, because her illness had damaged her memory. I'd had a poor memory following the onslaught of ulcerative colitis. When I was well again, I had devised ways of exercising my memory muscles. The results had been remarkable. I shared my techniques with Pippa. It was emotionally rewarding to see her being placed on the principal's roll of honor, with a distinction in every subject from accountancy to commercial law. Pippa had a slight sense of abandonment, but trusted me enough to let me help her build family bridges. Her mother responded to Pippa's distress with deep love and warmth. Towards the end of her final year, the college hosted its annual Christmas charity show. I was to choose and direct the play. That year it was a dramatization of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. And guess who was chosen to play Tiny Tim, the crippled son of the Cratchit family? Why, it was my Pippa, of course. The lessons in memory enhancement worked, and Pippa delivered her lines flawlessly. I recall 2 lecturers applauding the memorable conclusion when Tim declares, "God bless us all." One of them remarked to the other, "The kids." Amazing. To see her play Tiny Tim, you'd think that she'd had real experience of being handicapped herself, wouldn't you? I didn't know whether to laugh or to cry. But on the whole the latter seemed more appropriate and the tears came. Just naturally, just beautifully. We had flown, Pippa and I. But as they say, a one-winged angel can only fly when it embraces another one like itself. Geraldine Pinto,